Good morning, people. Welcome to Success Tree classes. Well, we are starting now Newspaper Manthan video lecture series. In this video lecture series of Newspaper Manthan, we'll cover current affair analysis, means analysis of the newspapers, the important newspapers, and important articles in them. For example, Hindu, Indian Express, Business Standard, Mint, these kind of the papers will cover. Moreover, we'll do YOJANA economic survey in India Yearbook of next year.
Corridor, International North-South Corridor. So Ashgabat Agreement aim is to provide connectivity between Central Asia to Persian Gulf. Okay. Do you see there? Can you look at? Have you brought Atlas? Yes. Open your Atlas. Open map of Central Asia. So whenever you come to class, bring Atlas with you, because even though it's a current affair classes, we will do mapping. We will do whenever we do international relations part and all. So mapping is very important for that. Even you can locate here. Even here or not. This is Turkmenistan. Yes, it is the capital of Turkmenistan, Ashgabat. So locate in your map, Ashgabat, capital of Turkmenistan. So from this Ashgabat, Persian Gulf via Iran. Right. So how does it help to connect or to be part of North-South Corridor? North-South Corridor is to bring connectivity via Persian Gulf to Russia to Europe, right? So in this way, and it will help India a lot. India is very keenly pushing North-South Corridor because right now we're doing trade, for example, to this part of nations via this route. So it will cut the distance to a huge extent. Moreover, India will get access to Central Asia. Easy access to Central Asia, very important. Why? Because Central Asia is energy rich region. Right? Strategic as well. How? Because China can do the string of pearls, why not India can have the same kind of strategy here? This will counter the string of pearls theory of China. Right? Just how India, when our friends went to Mongolia just after getting elected, right, Russia, and started bringing our influence in the Central Asia region. So it will have a counterbalance to China. So the first statement is incorrect. Second one, accession to the agreement enables India to utilize this existing transport and transit corridor to facilitate trade and commercial interaction with Eurasian region. So definitely it is correct. So B is the right answer. Sixth question. Now, International North-South Transport Corridor is a proposed multimodal transportation system connecting the Indian Ocean and Persian Gulf to Caspian Sea via Islamic Republic of Iran, from where it is connected St. Petersburg, North Europe. Correct? We just discussed this. Second statement also correct. It will cut down our distance to Russia. So both statements are correct. Seventh question, Article 262. Yes. This article deals with what? Yesterday I think we had the reference of Article 262. Yes. Correct?
Parliament power.
Yes. So it discusses about, it gives power to Parliament to enact a law to settle the disputes between states on the river water. So interstate river water dispute is dealt in Article 262. Article 263.
Council.
Yes, interstate council. Next statement. So second is correct, first is incorrect.
what is special status? The
Where is
constitution
given?
attaches a special status.
Where is that?
Second statement.
Okay. Special it doesn't have a specific connotation. Just because these are certain tribunals, it doesn't fall under the jurisdiction of Supreme Court. That's it. Question number 8. Tell the right option. Yes. Huh? One is correct. Okay. Tell me right option. A, B, C, D. A option. You're saying. Yes.
A option.
Tell your name again.
Achin.
Achin, बताइए.
Sir, one only.
Yes, Vibhu. Okay. First of all, read. It's which of the following statements are incorrect. So you need to carefully see, else even though you know the answer, you would have made a mistake. First statement is correct. Second statement also correct. Both statements are correct. So neither one, no two. D option is the right option here.
So what are some other countries? Can you name some other country in Indian Ocean rules now?
US.
There are so many countries in. बताइए कभी.
US, Australia.
Yes.
China is there?
China is pushing to come to it, but is still not part of it.
So what is the main purpose of this?
Indian Ocean Health Symposium.
Yeah.
It's something. There are so many dimensions linked to it. One thing is to bring peace and stability in the region. Like piracy is there, right? To check piracy as well, it could be one of the reasons. Secondly, to secure the trade, freedom of trade and overflight, unimpeded access of trade to the region, because very important sea lanes of communication passes through Indian Ocean that crosses through the Suez Canal via Sri Lanka to state of Malacca. So it's highly important that this region remains peaceful and stable. So basically, thirdly, uh, to bring cooperation, collaboration among the different countries' navies, so that if anything joint operation had to be done, it could be done in a more cooperative and coordinated manner. So there are many dimensions are linked to this, benefits are linked to this. Now come to the main questions. In 2016, 10 years had passed of such a report. Such a report wrote the report in 2005, then submitted to Parliament in 2006. So in 2016, 10 years have passed over it. And last month, an article came in Indian Express over the explanation of such a report and the progress till now, what has been achieved over the such a report.
It was set up in 2005 or report came?
2005 report was submitted to in 2006. So tell the answer. Have you read that article, or you haven't read and then you're writing it? But you know about such a report, right? So tell the answer. It talks about it. It first tells you that 10 years ago, report of such a report on social, economic, educational conditions of Muslims in India was tabled in Parliament. Has the conditions of Muslim improved during these 10 years? Critically examine.
Such a committee was set up in the year 2005 for finding social, economic, and educational conditions of Muslims in India. Even after 10 years, condition of Muslims in India have not improved as per desired level. Education level among Muslims in India is still below national average, and high dropout rate among Muslim communities is still. present, madrasas still dominate the education system among Muslims, especially among lower and middle class. Formal education as desire to impart skills for global job market is still low among Muslims. But women participation in labor market is still very low among Muslims due to cultural norm and still dominant view of women as homemakers. Further, due to high level of illiteracy among Muslim women, early marriage and early pregnancy are common, which also results into malnutrition level, which also result in high malnutrition level among lower class Muslim children. Banking facilities are still inaccessible to majority of Muslim population. Bank operating on laws of Muslim banking, that is Sharia banks, are still limited in India. As such, formal credit is not often sought by Indian Muslims in India, thus depriving them of formal credit to start up or expand their self-employment businesses, which is visible in absence of large corporations being run by Muslims in India. Due to limited formal education, inability to access formal credit, and malnutrition, there is poor representation of Muslim in government job and organized sector. Health and indicators among Muslims is still very low as compared to national average due to over reliance on hakims, etc., and high level of illiteracy among Muslims. Sachar committee has helped to bring out prevalent condition among Muslims in India. Further action needs to be taken by government of India to improve condition of Muslims. Allowing of Sharia banking in India and integrating madrasas with formal education system are steps in the right direction. Further, better targeting of schemes focused on minorities is required in order to improve the condition of Muslim in India and simultaneously protecting their rights under Article 29 and 30 of Indian Constitution.
Very good answer you have written. Most of the important points you have covered. Excellent answer. Just need to suffice it with certain data. If you had known it, then you could have put it along with your arguments. Okay, you just do one thing: get the this booklet from outside. Then you could easily evaluate and compare with the data with it.
But this question says critically examined, so we need to give some positive points also.
Yes.
Both points you have to show, but that you can show only if you know it. What has been the positives?
Like we can mention some schemes and
Yes,
like,
definitely,
to,
definitely.
But sir, in this socio-economic census, it showed that eventually population is increased, maybe like a meager part of it, and also the participation in the Indian workforce that is increased. Maybe a little percent of it, but eventually
we have to show the both things, right? But critical examine doesn't mean that you need to show the positives in the main. Negatives you have to show the scope of it and show the positives as well.
The efforts that are being made.
So what had been the positives if you guess it out? Bataiye.
Government have like put forward some schemes like skill development schemes and scholarships for the education purpose. Then reservation in education and jobs. Some state governments are doing on their own.
Bataiye.
Like, we can name schemes like Udan.
Udan. Yes, correct. Nai Manjil, Nai Roshni, like this, certain schemes. But ultimately, not only schemes won't just serve the purpose. The purpose is to showcase how much improvement has been done, right? Because schemes, one factor could have been there are so many schemes, but how much education has improved, how much literacy rate has improved, how much health status has improved, sex ratio has improved, or not. In this way, we need to compare. Schemes definitely these will give you just some edge to your answer, but show some data along with it, right? So there is comparison in your yes. Want to say
so like
something?
the recent divorce rate, it showed that with respect to the Hindus, Muslims have a lower divorce rate. So maybe that could be due to the interventions of government policies.
The government policies, in the divorce and all, still the government is very much is not so willing to interfere so much. It is highly very touchy issue. It is right. So even there are cases in the Supreme Court right now, right? Triple talaq, right? There had been issues linked to the women in the. We are talking about the Uniform Civil Code. There again, there are opposition from certain communities. Muslim community opposes it. So still, the present government still
we feel like present government still feels to be willing to bring certain changes, but it's not coming as a in a very bold manner to completely, yes, highly sensitive matter it is. So that's why it's the kind of stance of the government is to wait and watch the judgment of the Supreme Court. So the judgment of Supreme Court comes in the favor, it will give a push to the government as well to take certain actions then.
So how can we write like
So in
political
UPSC,
lacking the
like
political will, or like some hurdles like in like
No,
politically
the
sensitive?
things are, we are not going to tune this question as per the political question. Okay, you could see first we just inculcate, bring certain data in it. You just see the comparison there in the diagram there. This comparison in the figure there. In the education, see the literacy rate. The literacy rate in Muslims in 2011 68% overall, 68.5, overall 73%. So still lacking behind the overall percentage. But the positive is what? It has improved from 2001 level. It was 59% in 2001, in 11 census 68%. So around 10% improvement, percentage improvement has been the last 10 years. Whereas you see in the overall it has been only 9%. So positive is this one, improvement has been done but still falling behind the overall population. This is the negative point. Same way with the children who never attended the school, again you could see the difference. The Muslim population, 8.7% of the children between 6 to 14 years never attended school. Overall 4.4 means double of it. So double of the overall children in Muslims, they never attended school. But if you see the improvement, yes, there is improvement from 4-5 level. They have shown it. Same way in madrasas. So even in the education, you see a huge population of Muslim. They are studying in madrasas. In madrasas, they don't provide rational and technical kind of education. They still lag behind the overall quality of education. So 17 lakh people, they have students they have enrolled in madrasas as per 11 census.
so is this a positive move?
Sorry?
Like students getting more into the madrasas?
No, that's what I'm saying. It's not a positive move in the say to promote the scientific temper, to promote the rational education. No, it's not a positive move, right? So we need to see it's a criticism. In fact, if you want the students to be rationally developed, to be realize their full potential, their full capabilities, it's highly important they get the scientific technical education in a rational manner.
So sir, what is the government of India stance on madrasas? Are they like providing scientific? Is there any sort of proof? Like
In Assam, they just took a measure where government said that madrasas who are not following up formal education will be discredited.
Like in UPSC, can we add this controversial thing like students getting into madrasas although they are not?
You can say, because even we talk about government schools, we talk about the pathetic condition of government schools as well, right? The same way we could write it. The quality of education in madrasa is not up to mark.
The quality of education or the pedagogenic or like altogether different. The thing is different.
No, we don't need to just categorically just neglect this. We have to write in a balanced manner. Criticism well and good, but do the quality criticism, right? What the issue with the madrasa? We don't have any issue student going to madrasas provided they provide the good quality education there, but it is not being provided into madrasas. Now you see same way with the work participation among Muslims. 2011 census, 49.5% men, women 14.8% work participation among Muslims. So they have improved from the overall, but they have improved from the previous one, but less than overall. Now see the sex ratio. It's a positive thing here. In sex ratio, what's the overall sex ratio as per 2011 census? 943. So remember these kind of data. And what's the sex ratio as per for the Muslims? What's there? 951. Is 951 or 961? It's not legible, 61, right? Yes, 961. Right. So this one is better. We Muslims have better sex ratio, so it's a positive thing you can say. Then you could see population residing in urban areas. Even the Muslims, they have higher proportion of population residing in urban areas than the overall. 39%, 39.9%, 39% around there in urban areas of the Muslim proportion is there. So these are certain things you could write in the certain things in positives are there, certain things they are lacking on the social economic indicators. So mention both, and ultimately it has to depend on political will and administrative commitment to pursue and to increase their status of socio-economic status. Even the article mentioned about declining representation of Muslims in IAS and IPS. Even once you talk about, say, entrepreneurship, right? Once they do once the Muslims involved in self-employment, what kind of self-employment they are engaged into? One thing is how much of them are employed. Secondly, even if they are employed, in what kind of employment they are? They are in the low wage employment. Kind of the industry. Even if they have their own industry, it is a leather industry or certain these kind of industry which are not as well paid off than the other overall. So this is again one of the indicator. Though whatever the involvement of the people, already it is low, but still even among them it is a low wage employment and low pay entrepreneurship. So in the schemes, you could mention Nai Manzil, Nai Roshni, Udan. Udan is a scheme for Jammu and Kashmir youth. Which ministry launched it? Under which ministry?
Minorities.
Under which ministry? Udan.
Minorities.
Ministry of Home Affairs. Why so? Because it is seen as a national integration scheme. Because the purpose is once you provide the skill and placement by having the collaboration with the industries there, it will help them to get the good employment and help in the national integration of those Jammu and Kashmir youth into the mainstream. And it's a way of the de-radicalization of the youth as well. That's all for this question. I come to next one. The next question: examine the causes of the problems of poor learning outcomes in Indian schools. Suggest what needs to be done to improve learning outcomes in Indian schools. Anybody who has written the answer? Who else has written? Have you written the answer? Because when you write the question, underline the important parts. Make it a habit. If you do it from right now, you will do it in the exam as well. It helps to evaluate. It helps for the examiner to evaluate, and definitely it's a positive impact. And give introduction before every question. Start the question. Give introduction and conclusion as well. So you start with just how Vibhu started. A good way to start. Start with the ASCR report. So it gives the data. It shows the status, that very poor status, learning outcomes, poor learning outcomes, right? So in the introduction itself, you could give the ASCR report status. Okay, what does it say? So it talks about ASCR. Very low proportion of the class 5 students to learn the text of even class 2 students. And even they could not do the simple arithmetic, the simple numeracy. The class 2 students, right? So they are not able to read the text, and they are not able to do the simple numeracy, simple arithmetic as well. So ASCR report, you start with the introduction, then you discuss that this ASCR report is 13-14. Then you have told, you're sure that, like, yes, there are issues with our education system, poor learning outcomes. Now what are the reasons then? Then you come to the core point of the question. You can write in both way, points as well as paragraph. But I will suggest when it asks like regions, measures, you prefer writing in points. What's the reason of that? Because once you write in points, you tend to generate more and more points. Once you write in paragraph, we analyze more, and ultimately certain points are missed out. So depend upon what kind of question it is. Both way are good way, right? But once you tend to write more points, or say more dimension you need to bring in, then try to write in points. Else in paragraph, where the analysis part is more required. So what could be the reasons of poor learning outcomes in Indian schools? Yes, come with points. You have written very good points. Bataiye, Kavi.
Sir, lack of infrastructure.
Lack of infrastructure. Lack of school infrastructure we have in the buildings, in the labs, libraries, toilets, right?
Less number of teachers.
Yes. Then you talk about teachers, student-teacher ratio, and even quality of teacher, right? What else?
So in this question, shouldn't we start from the teaching aspect?
You could start from wherever. Teacher point also equally important, infrastructure point also equally important. It's up to you, it's not going to matter a lot.
Method, rote learning.
Yes, very good point. Still the way the students are taught in class are rote learning. Very less interaction, very less practical lessons, right? Life skills are not imparted in a way. They're more into the rote learning,
How many days,
cramming the things. Yes.
how many days children are attending the school classes?
I didn't get your
Low
point.
attendance.
Low attendance, yes. Low attendance and dropouts. Why dropouts? Then you discuss the reason. What could be the reasons for dropouts? These are the reasons, in fact, right? But there are other reasons as well. The thing is, what this dropouts and all these are very critical points, and there are further reasons into that. Why high dropouts? Why poor attendance? Then you could further discuss them. High dropouts, low attendance, specifically of disadvantaged section of society. For example, girls, poor because they have to work, they work as well to support their family, right? The reasons, one is to support their family, girls due to their household work, double burden, school burden as well as household burden, right? Lack of toilets,
And
separate
poor
toilet
sanitation
system.
and-
Yes. So all these things can come up. Lack of
So we can include malnutrition in it.
yes, it will come definitely. I'll just try to take it as a separate point. Yeah, in dropout as well, you could specifically write malnourishment and separately as well. Why malnourishment in dropout? Because once the children are malnourished, the cognitive and physical development is limited, and they're not able to cope with the studies. Right. So once they don't get the things in class, they lose the interest, drop out. Lack of focus on early childhood care and education. It's very important. Early childhood care and education means schools are too late to begin. Whatever happens in the first 6 years with a child is going to impact the whole life, the whole education life, the whole work life. What kind of the nutrition a child has attained, it is going to develop the cognitive development, the mind as well as the physical. More importantly, how the child realize the full potential of his or hers is going to depend upon these first 6 years. Means before entering to school, the child should be ready to go to school. Now, what is the government plan for it? Means how the government tackles this situation? Do you have ICDS? Yes. Integrated Child Development Scheme through Anganwadi centers.
So
What else? Yes.
Budget. Budget, sir.
Funding. Yes. Good.
The percentage of education sector in the budget that is allocated. Absolutely.
Allocation to education.
And so we can mention the test that teachers have to give in order to get into the school.
Sorry.
Quality teachers.
Yes. In the teachers itself you could write, or a separate point as quality. Quality of education. Quality of education, they're also very poor. Then you can also write about specifically the quality of education. Gap in the rural urban.
No detention policy.
Yes, in no detention policy, up to a level you could write. Regarding quality of education, rural urban, you could see how in the rural areas, mostly the students, the children, they depend upon the government schools. There's highly very poor condition, lackadaisical condition of the government school there. What else you can write?
So CSR is not properly. CSR.
You could write in the majors if you wish to.
So how many points should we write?
It depends upon you how many points comes to your mind at the time. Otherwise, 5-6 points will be sufficient if these are quality points.
Parents involvement in learning process.
Lack of PT, regular.
Yes, definitely. Lack of interaction between teachers and parents in government schools. Now Delhi has started first time the parents-teachers meeting. Now what could be done? The second part of the question. Suggest what needs to be done to improve learning outcomes in Indian schools. So to every point you have the solution. In infrastructure, improving learning tools. Instead of rote learning, practical lessons, life skill imparting should be there, right? Yeah, one more point you could write. Discrimination within a school or the education is not inclusive. You could see the discrimination with on the basis of caste, gender, and ability within the school, within the classes, specifically in rural areas. What do you find there? That even the school administration, the school staff, teachers, they also discriminate on the basis of caste, male or female, whether girl or boy, and whether person with disability or other person. And this kind of discrimination is prevalent in society. So that kind of discriminatory attitude is carried forward to the schools as well. So as teacher behave the same way, students among themselves behave in the same way. Right? Once they do the midday meal, they sit separately. They don't sit along with the lower caste people. So in this exclusive kind of education environment, they cannot develop their whole personality. Their whole capabilities cannot be developed. Then we can discuss the measures.
So the reasons can be mentioned about the exchanges, low exchange rate, like the students from here or the abroad people, they're not coming here.
Sorry?
The students, Indian students, they are not made to be a part of exchange programs that are being made.
You could say you could write in the suggestion part the international best practices could be adopted and exchange programs could be encouraged. But this cannot be the sole reason for a poor quality education here. Because as exchange program happens at the higher education level generally.
And mostly they are available for the urban.
Yes, correct.
So that is the solution. Those should happen at the grassroots level instead of going for the high level.
The thing is what, because even we are not able to provide the basic education facilities to our government schools. So expecting this would be a very huge expectation. Are you getting my point? Though it will improve, but thing is what, whether we are providing even the basic education facilities at our government schools, at our local schools, those are missing. So as a point you could write, but it won't be a significant point.
Should we include it or not?
I will suggest avoid it. So in the measures, what could be there? For every suggestion there are measures. Come one by one. Maybe people bring measures to you. Yeah?
Teacher training.
Teachers training, very good, fine.
Allocating budget.
Yes. Funds, finance.
So better educational tools in the classrooms.
Yes. So focus on the life skills.
So robust infrastructure in the
Learning
classroom.
tools should be more flexible and as per need and demand of different students. Because how you can go for inclusive education? How you can have an inclusive classroom? In the classroom, there are different students with different abilities. Every student is different student. Now we cannot have a separate classroom for the disabled student and separate one for other students, right? Because it will be quite exclusive policy then. How they can be included in the mainstream? You have a common classroom from starting. You have a common society where there are part and parcel of the whole classroom or the whole society. Now once even the student with disability are in the same classroom, students from the different caste are together, every from different sections of society, everybody in the same classroom. Now they have different need, different demands, different skills, or different level of their development. At that time, it becomes responsibility of the teacher to develop student specific teaching, student specific tools, and encourage peer to peer learning, student to student learning. Because even you see, once you discuss the questions here, so you come out with different points. Vibhu's point would be different from yours, right? So what actually happens, you learn from your own classmates. So peer-to-peer learning, student-specific education should be developed by the teachers. So teachers' responsibility, teacher sensitization has to be more. So sensitization of teachers, administration as well.
Food, nutritious.
Yes. You start with, so once you start the majors, you start with Article 21A, as right to education is a fundamental right. And how it is implemented? Right to Education Act under Sarv Shiksha Abhiyan. Even the government implement Right to Education Act in letter and spirit. Sarv Shiksha Abhiyan. Definitely there would be huge learning outcomes. There are issues in the implementation part. Start with this in the majors, then discuss the different ways how to do it. Yes, what else you could give? Improving infrastructure, yes.
So like MHRD can establish a committee which would be giving a monthly reports about the quality of education that is being provided in the schools. With that can MHRD can do it much level.
Thing is what, yeah, we already have the these kind of tools available. As the ASCR report comes out and it provides the
But it's not monthly affair.
Yeah, monthly affair it is not. Even monthly affair, each and every school would be quite difficult. For that purpose, what is there? Saransh is the scheme of the government. Saransh is an online platform over which the attainments of all the students in a school and among the different schools, the comparison could be there.
So the UPSC won't consider this thing as an innovative idea given by a student.
Yes.
Would it backfire me?
Which idea?
Like this sort of idea.
No, it won't. It won't backfire because it's not a derogatory idea. It's a good idea, right?
Giving this idea, I won't come across as a nonsensical idea that is being.
No, definitely not. Because government is working on this, right? Even certain schemes they have been launched, like Saransh is there to evaluate the students. Then we need to focus over early childhood care and education. Early childhood care and education. In that part, role of ICDS has to be ensured. Integrated Child Development Scheme. Integrated Child Development Scheme. So last year, government restructured ICDS to make it a better and more realistic. Now, mother's nutrition has also been made a essential part of this ICDS, and same way nutrition of the children as well. So focus over anemic mothers, right? Proper nutrition to mothers and the baby both. But still, the thing is what the capacity building of our Anganwadi centers is quite very low. So that has to be improved. Because how ICDS would be implemented? Anganwadi centers are essential part of the implementation strategy. In the infrastructure part, you could just write so many things. Just how the girls and the weaker section students, they were resulting in dropouts. You could write separate suggestion for them as well. Right? I believe you could write the points regarding girls and those boys, those students who drop out. For girls, separate toilets, infrastructure, and female teachers as well, sensitization of teachers and staff regarding gender equality and all these things you could incorporate. For students who drop out because of poverty, then already we are having one of the one of the bill that was passed last year, Child Labor Amendment Act. So mention that Child Labor Amendment Act. Now,
That is considered as a retrogressive amendment because it has some major loopholes.
it is improvement from the previous version, right? But still, certain things are there which could be manipulated.
At least it's showing
But
the
we can
intent of the
mention
government.
it as a positive note.
Sorry?
But we can mention
Yes,
this as
because
an
it is
intent.
improvement from the previous one.
Okay.
Because now child labor has been banned below 14 years for every kind of employment, not only for this hazardous conditions. Earlier it was for hazardous conditions only. Now for every kind of employment below 14 years age of labor is banned, except two conditions. Now those conditions are the loopholes with what you're talking about. When the child work in the family enterprise or in the entertainment industry. In these two conditions, exception is there. And the government has justified as of socio-economic conditions or socio-economic necessities of our Indian society. So just write the positive point about Child Labor Amendment Act, that it has been banned for all kind of employments. Same way government could support the family members by providing them the employment and all these things so that they don't feel their children to work. Now to generate more points, what you can do, how to generate points here. For example, an equation comes for education. One thing is write in general like all these are the good points. Then you could segregate your answer. How? For primary education, for higher education, for technical education. Right? And then incorporation of education with skill building. Because that is part of our Madhyamik Shiksha Abhiyan, Rashtriya Madhyamik Shiksha Abhiyan. So that will help you to generate more points. So for primary education, there are certain points along with here itself, ICTS and below it, all these will come under this. Then you can write about certain government schemes if you remember.
So imprint program.
Imprint is for the higher technical education.
Yeah.
But that is not, yeah. Imprint is for PAN IIT IAC program. Right, to come out with a solution for challenges facing the country, technical challenges facing the country. So that is not part of the primary or secondary education. So they will write in the higher education or technical education. So here you can write, for example, Udan, Vidyanjali. Now this Udan is different. There are two Udan schemes. One Udan is for Jammu and Kashmir youth, skill building of that. This Udan is for girl students of class 11th and 12th to make them prepare for engineering entrance exams. So this won't come here. I'm not able to get that. This will come in the secondary education part, senior secondary education part.
Keshav Mahavidyalayas and all that.
Yes, yes. You could write that. Yes. Padhe Bharat, Padhe Bharat. Padhe Bharat, Padhe Bharat. This is for primary education. This scheme is for class 2 students to make them efficient in reading comprehension, reading and learning comprehension, and basic numeracy. What is Vidyanjali scheme? Vidyanjali scheme is to bring the volunteers to participate in the primary education programs. Same way for secondary education, you can write Rashtriya Madhyamik Shiksha Abhiyan. Now it has included skill development as well. And skill development along with education. What's the benefit of this? Now this scheme will help to bring those students from families who are poor and they were resulting into dropouts to support their families. And once they find that our students, our children are not only getting education but they are being skilled as well. And in a year to year time they could start supporting the family. So it will reduce those dropouts and will help in continuation of the studies as well. For higher education, Rashtriya Uttar Shiksha Abhiyan, RUSA. Then there are various ways to promote technical education as well. Try to point our use of digital education. That is very important point. How to improve the accessibility to quality education. So we need to ensure accessible, affordable, quality education to everybody. Now, massive open online courses could be a solution for this. So we have one of the program based on this, that is SWAYAM. SWAYAM. Right. So you could write digital education, MOC, SWAYAM, then imprint. It's PAN IDIC program. Then there is a I'm not able to recall the name of the program that actually brings the collaboration between the to bring the academicians, reputed academicians to India, and they give the lectures in Indian universities, right? And those lectures are being given to everybody through the internet, the platform, the university website, and all.
Yes, sir.
Okay, just once it comes to mind, I will let you know. There are so many schemes you could write, but just write in a. Don't just focus on schemes only. Don't forget the demand of the question. Right? I'm just writing all these things, but it's not necessary to write all. Keep your answer as per demand of the question. I'm just, even if you write half of this, it will be very good answer. You cannot recall each and everything at the same time. It happens. But don't forget to write the important points. So whenever you write about education, just have a couple of things in mind. We need to ensure affordable, quality education accessible to all. Now, even these these are three terms only, but every term has its own gravity with it. And you could write the different points to justify these 3 points. How to make it accessible to all,
digital education is a way. Quality, there are so many ways we discussed to improve the quality. Affordable, how to make it for poor, Right to Education Act is there. And ensure it is being implemented for the in the private schools as well. Like there's a quota in the private school, 25% they have to be brought from the weaker section within the 5 kilometer area, right? How to improve quality, you could give certain innovative suggestion as well. Sometimes come it comes in articles certain times that coupon system to improve quality. You could say coupon system could be tried. What is coupon system?
So that instead of free education in government school, they are giving coupons. Wherever they want to go, they can enroll their child there
Correct.
and discount in fees.
Very good. Did you understand the concept?
Wage workers. This is related to wage workers. I have seen now.
Sorry?
Related to wage workers. Related food.
Coupon system for education. So students who are to be given coupons, right? So in whichever school they go, they could go and attain the free education. Now in that case, government will, each coupon will have certain value attached to it. And to whatever school they goes, government will fund that particular amount of value to that school. And that will be divided as incentive among the teachers. Right? So how does it help? What actually happens in the government schools? The teachers are so much satisfied with the job and all, they feel like they don't need to work hard. They don't need to provide the quality in the classes. This is the mindset in many of the schools there. So once they feel that if they provide quality, more students will come with the coupons, more incentives they will get. So even the government school teachers will start providing the quality. In fact, our government teachers are more capable than the private teachers, private school teachers. The thing is, they are not just giving their full potential in teaching.
So where is this coupon system?
In UP, in certain districts, it has been tried. So when you write certain points and you feel like okay, so you don't directly say do it, right? You say it could be tried. For example, vehicle rationing somewhere with respect to environment, you want to write urban transportation, even out system. You want to give it as an example. So don't write as do even out system, apply, implement even out system, because there are certain flaws with the even out system as well. So, but you could say that it could be tried, it could be seen in a more implementing manner, more implementable manner. It could be seen because in many countries, in many cities abroad, it is being implemented successfully. So the flow should be looked into, and it could be tried. For example, BRTS in Delhi it failed, but it is being successful in many of the cities. In Gujarat, go to Ahmedabad there, right? BRTS is beautifully implemented there.
So in Delhi CP, that inner circle and outer circle.
Yeah, now they yes, correct. So vehicles entry will be banned in the inner circle. So correct. I'm just trying to say, even though certain points are controversial certain times, but still you want to mention as an example. So mention in diplomatic manner. You're not directly supporting it, do it, but you're giving an option. Okay, this could be tried. So education is very important topic, and if any question comes, I believe you can handle the question with respect to education. We have covered from the primary to the middle, higher, secondary, higher education as well. And the economic survey again, they have one chapter on social economy, like one of the chapters, social infrastructure they have. So every year we have certain important issues or important arguments linked to education economic survey as well. So we'll also do that once it comes, or when an article comes, again we revise it, right? So it's we try to make you to speak so that you can recall it in the class itself. So you brought Yojana for January month. So this January month Yojana is based on disaster management. Importance of this Yojana: disaster management is explicitly mentioned in your syllabus, in paper 1, in paper 3 as well. So in either of the paper, the question can be asked. The question can be asked in both papers as well, and it happens certain times. For example, this year in 2016 mains, a question was asked on urban flooding. Urban flooding, right? And we had seen Chennai floods, right? And it was asked in paper 1, in paper 3 as well. In both papers, the question was asked, because disaster management is part of both papers. So one question will definitely expect. Two question can also come. Depends. But at least one question is going to come from disaster management. So this one magazine, if you do it comprehensively, it will definitely help you to fetch maximum marks in that one question. And once you know that one question is going to come from these 20-25 pages, it's very easy to fetch marks, gain marks, and very limitedly you can focus on that. Okay, we just see the back page of development roadmap. Development roadmap. The first page, the back side of the first page. The first mobile and digital banking induction campaign for youth. Not so important, just says how these kind of campaigns can help in spreading awareness, educating and awareness. Right. So just remember whenever, because in many of the questions we talk about spreading awareness, education, whether digital education, whatever we talk about. So if you remember these kind of campaigns that ministry is doing, the government is doing, so you could mention as an example. That's it. Secondly, housing for all in rural areas. Now recently, in the end of the last year, our Prime Minister launched housing for all, Grameen, for the rural areas. And so housing for all by 2022. So there are certain components, you just go through the components. It could be important for prelims and for mains as well, you can use them. So but you see that it is to be provided as convergence. So it is not a scheme just in isolation. So there will be convergence of different schemes to implement this housing for all Grameen. Now selection, how the selection is going to be done? Using the socio-economic caste census 2011. Important point it is. So how the selection beneficiary is going to be done, and validating it through Gram Sabha. So it would come directly as a statement in the prelims exam. Then how this Grameen Awas Yojana will help bringing together Skill India, Digital India, Make in India, IT, Direct Benefit Transfer, Aadhaar Platform, Jan Dhan Yojana. It also strives or provides for skilling 5 lakh rural masons by 2019. Right, so the payments will be done by direct benefit transfer, Aadhaar enabled. So the statement can also come that Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana Grameen is linked with which of the following government programs? Skill India, Digital India, Make in India. So all these programs are linked to Awas Yojana Grameen. They come to chief editor's desk. Chief editor's desk. This is one of the most important pages of the whole Yojana. This first page. How it is important? Now this page summarizes the whole Yojana. There are many articles in Yojana, right? And in small different paragraphs, it summarizes each and every article. So it helps in a quick reason, you can say. You read the whole Yojana, you just don't just read this first page, but you just cram it or just learn it completely. And once you revise, you just read the first page itself. It helps you to get the more points from the different articles. So the first paragraph talks about how the disasters they have affected the mankind. But even before mankind, it is assumed that the dinosaurs they uh, they just wiped out from the earth because of certain kind of disaster only. Then Indus Valley civilization, there are arguments that by certain historians it also wiped out because of certain natural disaster. So just showcase how different kind of disasters, natural and man-made, had been impacting or had impacted mankind, human life. In second paragraphs, it gives certain data. Important thing, whenever if the question comes, if you have the data, mention them. Now, what does it say? It says Indian subcontinent among the world's most disaster-prone areas. Then over 59% of India's land area is under threat of moderate to severe seismic hazard. Right, so in earthquake, we are in the earthquake prone zone. More than 59% of India's land area. Now what land area is there? Which geographical region? Yes, Himalayas. Then? Yes, Gujarat region. Correct.
So there's zone.
Yes. Himalayas, then a small strip comes through here, the run of Kutch, this one, goes to Andaman and Nicobar, right?
Even Tamil Nadu coast.
Yes, somewhat some small proportion of that. So these are the major earthquake prone regions.
They come in zone 1.
Sorry?
They come in zone 1.
Zone 1 is the least earthquake affected.
Zone 4.
Zone 4.
Sorry. 4 is more.
Now the next point about this. Now out of total 329 million hectares, more than 40 million hectares is flood prone. So around 12% of the area is flood prone area. So just directly remember 59% moderate to severe seismic hazard, 12% around flood prone. Then it says every year 75 lakh hectares of land is affected. 1600 lives are lost. And damage caused to crops, houses, public utilities means effect to the economy around 1800 crores due to floods. Right, so it has taken two of the natural disaster, one is earthquake, another is flood. So even if specifically the question comes from flood, you have certain data with you that how much percentage of the land area is flood prone. How much? 12%. How much does it cost to lives and to the economy? That is also given there. If the question from earthquake, then you know what percentage? 59%. You also know the which location, which geographical region of that. Then it discusses about that how the disaster they have impacted the mankind, the humankind. Different disasters, droughts, floods, famines, disease, earthquake, tsunami. There are so many disasters. Now, what could be done? Or it has given an example of the floods in Chennai, based on this question was asked in this year mains. Now, so it talks about preparedness and planning. That disaster will happen. You cannot stop the natural disaster in totality. So, what could be done? We need to prepare ourselves. We need to anticipate the disaster. I need to make our capable enough to recover or reconstruct in short time span. So preparedness and planning is very much essential. What is the institutional mechanism do we have? We have one of the institute, NIDM, National Institute of Disaster Management, and NDMA, National Disaster Management Authority. And NDRF is a force through which the disaster recovery process is being done. NDRF, the various paramilitary forces, personnel are being recruited in NDRF. Then next paragraph discuss what are other factors that exacerbate the situation. For example, high population, urbanization, haphazard urbanization, high population density, increasing degradation of environment. So these factors exacerbate the situation. These factors aggravate the situation. So what are these? So just not urbanization, it should be haphazard urbanization. In fact, if the urbanization is planned one, then it won't be so much difficult to manage the disaster. It is haphazard urbanization that actually matters. Then increasing population density. In fact, if, for example, if certain slum areas, if certain very highly congested areas of Delhi, if earthquake comes of even of 6 on the Richter scale, the disaster could be very huge impact, because very high population density, the kind of casualties would be numerous. So population density if high, then the impact becomes high of the natural disaster. So certain examples: Bhopal gas tragedy, Uttarakhand floods, Fukushima Daiichi nuclear disaster is certain examples it has given. That says that regarding natural disaster, that disaster teams role is highly important. That if a disaster team, how quick the response is, because when disaster happens, what is the response time? If the response time is small, because initial hours are very important, so the response time has to be made small. How to do that? To ensure our response team are alert, right? So they need to be made more and more trained, more capable, the capacity building and all. Then secondly, it gives importance to medical teams, post-trauma care, and the role of NDRF in that. The next paragraph, we discuss about how creating an awareness among people regarding disaster preparedness can help to mitigate the impact. Because who are going to be face a disaster at first hand? The people themselves. It is not NDRF available everywhere at every period of time, and even the first impact would be on people directly. So who are to respond first? The people themselves. So means the people, they have to be made aware. They have to be trained. The mock drills and all. So once we do the mapping, vulnerability mapping, that which area is vulnerable to what kind of natural disaster. Accordingly, training and mock drills could be done in the schools, starting from schools themselves. Right? For example, in Gujarat, earthquake mock drills could be done, and it is done in fact in the schools. Same way, if this eastern coast is vulnerable to tsunamis and cyclones, so mock drills, training, sensitization to people, awareness to people could be adopted, and it's the best way, in fact, one of the best way to move forward, to make our people prepare and anticipate the disaster in advance. So effective communication, all these things are given. Then in the end it says that disaster do strike, we can't do much about it. What we can do, we can prepare ourselves. We can minimize the impact by arming ourselves with the knowledge, with awareness, by the preparedness. And ends with the
Is it coming into pre-mitigation?
sorry?
Pre-mitigation basis.
Come with the point.
Awareness among people and about communication.
Yes,
That
yes.
free mitigation.
Yes, yes.
Measures.
Yes, definitely. So it ends with the quote: an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. So remember certain quotes. It helps in getting more marks. Okay, but not for the. It is basically for essay. When essay comes, if you remember the quote, definitely write it. But write in the context. It's not something you remember quote and you have to fit it somewhere. It has to justify the demand of the essay, the topic. Okay, I give you another examples how quotes are very important. These are very important for ethics. Very, very important. Though you could score still good marks in essay and ethics without even remembering the quotes, but once I could say it can improve your score from 90 to 100, 100 to 110, definitely. See, we have compiled, if you see on the OneNote, we go to essay uh, section. In essay section, one page is there of quotes. In the quotes page, we have compiled around 40-50 quotes of important quotes of different moral philosophers, of Buddha, of Gandhi, of Abdul Kalam. Have you seen that? Okay, Rumi, right? Lincoln, then Kant, Gandhi, right? Voltaire. So, quotes of these moral philosophers, and these are very important. If you don't read say Voltaire or Kant, doesn't matter, but at least remember all quotes, all important quotes of Gandhi and Kalam. Question comes from that. If you had read the quotes of Gandhi, one of the questions directly came from the quote, Seven Sins. We have already noted this quote before, Seven Sins of Gandhi. It's in a quote form. If you have read that, then you can write it. Otherwise, very, very specific question.
In old NCERT history used to be given.
Okay.
School days.
So one thing is, if a question directly comes from quote. Secondly, even if the question doesn't come from quote, they helps. They helps to write answer section A lot. Why? One way is you could link the quote to the question. How the quote is or how the question is linked to any of the quote that you remember. Secondly, even if you don't remember the quote, still very beneficial. Why? Because every quote has a moral lesson behind it. If you remember all the quotes, 40-50 quotes, you remember 40-50 moral lessons. And what is there in ethics? Moral lessons these are. You could explain in your own words if you don't remember the exact quote to justify the answer, the question. Now, how to do that? You won't be able to remember all of them in a short time span. Read. At first, it may take half an hour, 45 minutes to read them all. Try to read and try to understand what the writer wants to say or what the logic behind the quote. Try to go behind the logic. In what ways you can interpret the quote. Just think as if it has come in a question directly. Use your own mind. In certain way, we have mentioned the explanation as well to certain quotes, but certain quotes we haven't explained. These are understood in themselves, or you could try by yourself. So try to interpret in your own words. What is the lesson behind this quote? You could write it down, a few keywords in your own. You could edit that as well. You could write that as well, right? So initially it may take around 1 hour, 2 hours, maybe, right? 3 hours it may take, but not more than definitely. Then you read it every day. Second day it will take only 20 minutes to read the whole course. 20-25 minutes. Then 15 minutes next day. 10 to 15 minutes, then every day. In a span of around a week time, you will be able to remember many of the quotes. Not all, many of the quotes. You do it, and this is to learn, remember certain quotes. Then you start using them. Because even remembering is not going to serve the purpose unless you start writing them in the certain answers. Because that is the application part, and that is the toughest part. Reading and remembering is one way, but using them at the appropriate place is the art that you have to learn by practicing the question, trying to just recall certain code at the right time. In fact, use them. And it won't take much time, in a month or 2 months, 1.5 months, even just by giving 1 hour each day to ethics, you could do that. That could improve your marks from 80 to 100 even, 100 to 120 even. Okay, so practice, instead of giving say 20 hours or say 30 hours in 3 days, give 30 hours in a 1 hour every day. Why? Because you won't gain by giving 30 hours in 3 days much, then giving 1 hour each day for the whole month. Because a cumulative impact, the mind takes time to understand certain things, it needs rest, then things develop automatically in your mind and you understand that. So धीरे धीरे करके काम करो, but make the consistency. Okay, revise this ideas just right now. Yes, done. Tell the important points of this article.
So firstly, it talks about the effects of disasters. Uh, it talks about the effects of disaster, like how from the since the time immemorial, how the disasters have struck the humankind, and what sort of to what extent the disaster had impacted the humankind. He talks about the Indus Valley civilization for that matter, and the certain creatures that used to exist, and because of disaster, climate change, and uh, things like that, they don't eventually exist. Now it talks about effects of certain peculiar disaster, for that matter, earthquake and this flood. What extent of the damage earthquake and flood have, they are Earth is prone to them. It talks about the preventive measures via our agencies like National Institute of Disaster
Next,
Management.
what else?
Readiness and planning.
What else?
Factors exaggerating these problems like man-made factors and urbanization, haphazard
Yes,
urbanization,
correct.
and population increase in population like that. Then the role of for mitigating these disasters, how different factions of society can help, like people themselves and their training and awareness among them.
बताइए what else? इसके अलावा और क्या ऐड कर सकते हैं?
After first ancient occurrence of disaster and how they affect and destroy the civilization. After that, there is a description about India and how India is affected
Yes,
with portions
good.
and how many areas are affected.
What is that?
In India, 59% of areas are moderate to severe earthquake.
Good, yes.
And after 20% areas are affected by flood.
12% that is.
12%.
बहुत अच्छे. विभू?
Sir, first it talks about disasters, man-made and man-made or natural. And then it gives an example that dinosaurs, etc., have been struck by natural disasters. Then it gives two data, basically 159% for seismic and 12% for flood. Then it says how government has responded by three agencies, National Institute Management Authority, National Disaster Management Authority, National Institute of Disaster Management, and NDRF, which it mentions later. Then it tells how the problem has been exaggerated, basically how the impact gets magnified, basically by three factors. Urbanization, unplanned urbanization, high population density, and third is in environmental problems.
Good.
And then it tells about that as the now it tells about after post disaster response, basically that care should be taken, medical teams and all that, and it also gives talks about post trauma, basically many people suffer. And then it talks about the most important point, which was creating awareness. And then it ends with that Benjamin Franklin quote, that and pound of ounce.
What is that quote?
An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of care.
Very good. बहुत अच्छे. So
Sure, sir.
you need to revise it many times. When you read Yojana, just read the whole this page first. Then you go to the articles. Okay, the first article discuss about Sendai framework. Sendai framework. Now, post Sendai initiatives and way forward. So, last year in the month of November, now India hosted post Sendai one of the initiative, that AMCDR, that was a ministerial conference, that was Asian Ministerial Conference on Disaster Reduction. It was. So Sendai initiative is on disaster risk reduction, DRR. So where is Sendai? Japan. So it discusses certain issues linked to it. So Sendai framework is a 15 years framework, 2015 to 30. Now the Sendai framework, the state has been given the primary role to respond. But state is not the only stakeholder. It has specifically mentioned all other stakeholders, importantly private sector as well. So means all stakeholders need to understand their responsibility and act accordingly. State being the most important stakeholder, along with the private. So it aims to reduce the disaster risk, and so how, in what way the disaster impacts in terms of loss of lives, right? in terms of loss to the infrastructure, cost to the GDP, right? Property loss and all these things. Loss to the environment. So there are different ways any of the disaster actually impacts the people. And there are 7 targets. The 7 targets, and they have not mentioned the different targets for it. Now the targets, just remember, if you just directly, no need to remember the data in that, just in terms of lives, in terms of economic loss, in terms of critical infrastructure, the damage, to reduce the disaster damage to critical infrastructure and disruption of basic services. Then developing international cooperation to developing countries. And multi-hazard early warning system and disaster risk information and assessment to the people. Then there are 4 priorities of action under Sendai framework. First is understanding disaster risk. Right? Means first we need to understand the risk of the disaster. Then only you can work to mitigate that. And all the dimensions: vulnerability, capacity, knowledge, etc. Then secondly, need to strengthen disaster risk governance at all the levels, at national level, at regional level, at global level. Thirdly, disaster risk reduction, investing in disaster risk reduction for resilience. We need to create the infrastructure as well as the capacity building in a way that is disaster resilient. And need to prepare in advance, enhance disaster preparedness to build back better. So
Recovery, rehabilitation, and reconstruction. These are important points, important terms when we discuss about disaster management. So first we prepare ourselves. Disaster preparedness. And we strengthen the capacity building in a way that whenever disaster happens, we are able to recover. We are able to build back better. We are able to rehabilitate the affected people, impacted community, and reconstruction of the affected infrastructure. So all these things have to be important part of the disaster risk reduction. Now this article discuss about, I come to this article, you see the second paragraph. So this framework is for how many years? 15 years, 2015 to 2030. In the second paragraph, it discusses targets for substantial reduction in losses. So means losses to lives, people affected by disaster, then economic losses and infrastructure losses. Then calls for capacity through national and local strategies, international cooperation, improved access to early warning. So these are various targets for the Sendai framework for disaster risk reduction. Then come to next page. And discusses certain points regarding this framework. You see in the second paragraph. In second paragraph, it talks about Government of India issued priority action to all the state governments. So means
It's not only to be at the central government, but also to be replicated at the state governments. They have to be also included in this. And suggestion you could write, it should be replicated to the local government as well. Why? Because ultimately, who is the first responders? The local people. So which is the nearest government to them that could respond at the earliest? Local government. So there has to be local government capability should have to be improved, have to be strengthened. So one suggestion you could give in one of the article that came, I discussed about we need to develop a cadre of climate risk managers. So in suggestion somewhere you could write about this. Climate risk managers. Where to develop them? In the local bodies. Because these are the people who are going to help directly in the first way. Or these are the people who are going to do the capacity building training mock drills with the local people. And there should be climate risk management plan. Now that article was specifically based over the climate change and impact over that. That's why I talked about climate word is there. So when you talk about disaster, so disaster risk managers. So this is something you could innovate by yourself. समझ रहे हैं कभी क्या कह रहे हैं? Because that article specifically was based on climate change and impact over it. So that's why it suggested climate risk managers at the local bodies. Climate risk management plan. So you could do it disaster risk managers in the local bodies. Disaster risk management plans for every specific regions in those areas. Now next paragraph it discusses NDRF to be strengthened and to be raised at a professional disaster response force. It also discusses about National Disaster Response Reserve Fund. This is another important point. National Disaster Response Reserve having a revolving fund of 250 crore rupees to be operated by NDRF. Then come to next paragraph. In this, it discusses about international cooperation, international collaboration. So how India, China, India, Nepal, India, Japan cooperation collaboration had been there. Then India is pushing for SARC disaster management. Right? SARC disaster management centers to be developed. And last year, India hosted this exercise, SARC disaster management exercise. Right? So, along with the SARC countries, participated in the collective efforts to manage the disasters. Now we discuss a few things about it. SARC disaster management exercise. How it is important. For SARC disaster management. SARC disaster management in the light of SARC disaster management exercise and India's push for SARC disaster management centers. So, what's your opinion? How do you think this SARC disaster management is essential to manage disaster risk in the region, or the importance of this?
Yeah, because the Indian subcontinent is prone, geographically they are more prone for the disasters like floods and earthquakes.
Correct.
So there should be special emphasis should be given on the mitigation and uh, giving pre-thought to the such disasters. So for that matter, the cooperation of the subcontinental countries is essential.
ठीक है.
So that this exercise is important.
बताइए, आप बताइए anything else? Importance of
Sir,
SARC disaster management.
Sir, we get to know about the best practices
Yes,
The
good.
disasters are
Good.
more or less the same happening in the
Correct.
subcontinent. So we
Good.
can get to know about what China, for that matter,
Good.
is doing in
Good.
case of flood. We
Good.
can implement the same
Yes,
practices
yes,
in India.
yes, good.
Japan for the earthquakes.
It'll be reducing our human resources, time, energy, resources.
Correct, good. बहुत अच्छे. Hey, Japan because won't come under
But
SARC.
we can take
Yes,
the
yes,
ideas.
yes, yes. We can take the ideas.
And also we can have a pool, combined collective fund of all the countries,
Yes.
like we're having Asian Development Bank. For that
Yes.
matter, we can have a collective fund.
Correct.
In case of a big like epidemic or things like that, we can draw the fund out of it.
Both अच्छे. Very good points you given. One thing is, you told which point you started with?
Geographical
Yes.
vulnerability.
So in that case, you give examples that will help you to fetch more marks. There's geographical unity of SARC, the South Asian countries. You see Indian subcontinent as a whole, and even the disaster they cut across the line, they don't see the boundaries, right? Disaster that happens that could affect the multiple countries at the same time. So the response also has to be collective. Even the earthquake in Nepal could affect India, could affect Pakistan as well, right? So, so the disaster they are not limited to one nation here in South Asia. So earthquake, we could give example. We could say about tsunamis and cyclones in both Arabian Sea as well as Bay of Bengal. We could talk about floods because the rivers they flow across different nations there. Right, so Indus River, India, Pakistan, Brahmaputra, China, say India, Bangladesh, right? Ganga also. So how one nation sees one river, or how the development activities on a river that impacts the lower riparian states as well, lower riparian nations as well, right? So there has to be collective effort in these cases.
We will talk about the forest fires here.
Forest fire also you can say, yes,
Like
because
in case northeast, if there is
yes,
a forest fire, for the government of India to take action would take more time.
yes,
Than for that
definitely
matter
from
China or Myanmar or
yes,
Bhutan.
yes, definitely from Bangladesh say first, because in northeast we have the more connectivity. We could get easy connectivity through Bangladesh, right?
So for India to respond first would be a difficult thing.
Yes, because definitely see whenever we see in northeast highly inaccessible area, right? It takes a lot of issues in having providing the response to this narrow Siliguri corridor, chicken neck corridor. So in that case, for example, any forest fire happens in Tripura. So limited resources and giving the say support from this chicken neck corridor is highly difficult in short span of time. So Bangladesh authorities would allow this. Help from Bangladesh could be easier in that case. So the same thing that disasters they happen across the nations. South Asian countries, South Asian nations, they are having certain kind of geographical unity in them. Earthquake prone regions are there. Other factors are also other kind of disaster also there. So we need, as I said, we need a collective response. International best practices need to be adopted among the different nations.
Like I said, exercises that are being done, Malabar exercise,
Yes.
they would include certain things regarding the climate and disaster.
Yes, correct. So you give example of this current exercise, SARC disaster management exercise among the SARC nations. And what could be the role of India? For example, we further discuss role of India in SARC disaster management.
It's having a pivotal role here.
Yes, but how it is.
We know India in
India has
managing
the
flood or cyclone is much better than the other countries.
Come with the point again.
In managing flood and cyclone.
India has more expertise in that in many of the yes, बताइए.
Because India having more than 7,000 kilometers of coastline, it's having more expertise in dealing with situations in
Largest country in the South Asia, right? More resources at the we have with our country to manage the disaster. More expertise we have.
well geographically placed.
Yes, and central place in the South Asia, right? We have the central location in South Asia.
So all these things, they
Meteorological department also.
sorry.
Meteorological department.
Yes, correct. Meteorological department of India also well developed in comparison to other South Asian nations. Expertise and all.
When earthquake occurs, I think through the fault line of Iran, maybe it affects the till Iran. So,
Sorry.
like the earthquake, which it happens in case, the fault line runs through Iran itself, via
Okay.
India till Iran. So Iran itself also can be a stakeholder.
Yeah, but we are talking about SARC in fact, right? So we don't need to divert our question. So all these kind of the points, important points. Yes, Vibu, do you have anything in mind?
Uh, Sir, we have more personnel who can respond.
Yes.
Basically, manpower is huge.
Correct. It was seen post Nepal earthquake how India responded at the first instance. Like India was the first responder to help Nepal in that earthquake. What was the name of the operation?
Sir,
Maitri. Operation Maitri. Then what is Operation Rahat?
Sir, that
Evacuation
of people in
Correct.
JM.
Not
No,
JM.
no, Uttarakhand.
No, no, no.
Not
Maybe
Yemen.
Sorry, Yemen. Correct.
yeah. So what was the name of the operation that was being done in J&K?
Which operation?
Evacuation, maybe in the floods.
I'm not able to recall it. What is that?
Maybe.
So Yemen operation was Operation Rahat.
Yes.
Yes, one more point you can add about role of India that see all these points. India is better placed, economy is better resourced, in institutional mechanism, or we say in the preparedness level or in strategies everywhere. But you could also include SARC satellite. That SARC satellite and NAVIC.
Yes.
So India has proposed to bring to launch SAR satellite. Pakistan is having the opposition to it.
Even we can just mention the IRNSS.
That is Navik. So our Prime Minister has given name Navik to our. We will continue to this YOJANA magazine. Then in the last of this paragraph, the same paragraph, it talks about Indian National Center for Ocean Information Services. So this point also need to be written here. Indian National Center for Ocean Information Service. For the same paragraph you will see. So it helps to provide early warning, not only to India but also to 28 countries in the Indian Ocean Rim. So very important point it is. Then another thing, they need to develop the institutional mechanism by having collaboration, NIDM has signed MOU with JNU to further give push to research, disaster research and resilience in the academics. Then come to the last paragraph of this page. It talks about more allocation by Foreign Finance Commission recommendation. So government has implemented that. Approved allocation of 61,000. So you may not remember the exact figure, but you could say higher allocation as per Foreign Finance Commission recommendation. Then finally, in the last paragraph, as we discussed, that state has a primary role, right? But there are other stakeholders as well, including the private sector, to be involved in disaster preparedness and mitigation planning. So that's all in this article. Now there are our Prime Minister. Come to the box A. That is important. Page number 8, box A. Our Prime Minister outlined 10-point agenda on disaster risk reduction at this conference, Asian Ministerial Conference on Disaster Risk Reduction. These are 10 points. Remember them, learn them, because you could write them anywhere. It is not something when they ask what PM said. It is something that you could
Write your own suggestions, your own opinion like this. The first point said, it talks about building a coalition to support disaster resilient infrastructure. So there are development projects, all the infrastructure needs to be disaster resilient. Secondly, risk coverage for all, specifically to poor, but covering all, poor from poor to small, medium enterprise to MNCs as well, to nation states as well. So risk coverage for all. Third, involvement of women, leadership of women in disaster risk management. Now this is important point, many people won't write it, so try to bring these kind of points. Then risk mapping, invest in risk mapping globally for all hazards. Then leveraging technology to improve the efficiency. Then developing a network of universities to work on disaster issues. What's the benefit of this? Having or developing a network of universities
Research.
to develop the research in disaster management. This is how NIDM had the MOU with JNU. So you could give this example whenever you give say point like bringing a network of universities or having the collaboration of research institutes with the universities, right? So give example how, for example, NIDM signed MOU with JNU. Next point, use of social media and mobile technologies. Then building local capacity. The next talks about establishing a facility for technical support to post-disaster reconstruction of houses. And finally, greater cohesion in international response to disaster. So collective response, collective international response. So read all these points again. Yes, done. Points बताइए विभू.
So first, development project should be disaster resilient. Second, risk coverage for all. Third, women important role, basically
Right.
leadership. Then risk assessment of all regions globally, and risk assessment of all for globally. Technology should be for efficiency.
Good.
Partnership with universities. Social media and
बहुत अच्छे.
social media, then international collaboration. It was last, and local governance, and one more.
Greater code. Okay.
That is
Post disaster reconstruction.
Excellent. बहुत अच्छे. Now you come to the side page, AMCDR 2016, this box, as it was the first ministerial conference post Sendai framework. Now there are certain points that could be important from PT point of view prelims. See the next paragraph. It tells certain facts about AMCDRR. So established in 2005, is a biennial conference, so held in every 2 years, and jointly organized by different Asian countries and UN Office for Disaster Risk Reduction. So statement could come directly from this line. Next, AMCDR to be held in Mongolia in 2018, and which two important documents were brought in this conference: New Delhi Declaration and Asian Regional Planning for Implementation of Sendai Framework. So question can come, New Delhi Declaration is linked to what?
Sir, what is Udaipur Declaration?
That is for BRICS, in fact. BRICS, there is also linked to the disaster management, but with the BRICS nation, it was held the ministerial conference among them. That's all from this article. Now there are come to the last page of this article. It talks about Right a Person with Disabilities Bill 2016. Now we have already done this bill, so you could get the update in your OneNote. You just can directly go there, read all the points. So bataiye Vibhu, what were the points in this article?
Sir, it replaces PW Act. The second, basically, it has increased this number of disabilities to 19 or 21.
It's 21 actually.
7 to 21.
7 to 21. In that article, there were two articles. In one of the article, it was given 19. That was from PRS, but that is incorrect information. Correct is 21.
21.
Yes.
21. Then it talks about a disability, that 40% disability should be
Yes.
considered. Then for reservation and all that, and it also talks about that instead of reservation at basically a bifurcation level, like
So
for
that was
blindness and all that, one total quota.
That was the criticism that was given for it. What else?
Infrastructure,
Yes,
and
Kabir?
penalty and all that.
So in banks, related to the infrastructure development. Banks and every public institutions. Next, it talks about the opportunities, equality, and accessibility.
So any other point left? Important point.
International
Yes.
level, UNCRP.
Yes, correct.
And insurance strategy.
Correct.
Army corporate.
If it comes about this that from UNCRPD means then it follows the guidelines of UNCRPD, but doesn't say directly to the insurance strategy. That is something. If something else comes, then you could just put as a supplement point. But in the bill, it says it is to bring our disability bill in line with the UNCRPD. That's all from this YOJANA. Okay, we'll do in one more class. We'll try to cover 4 or 5 more articles from this and try to cover the important articles of this. Now take a certain other important issue. Or we take one issue from IR, International Relations. We did Sri Lanka last time, right?
Yes, sir.
Which country should we take? We take neighboring country. These are more important. China, very important. We can take China. Every year there are chances to come question from China. Like this year they didn't ask China, but they asked South China Sea in paper 1. In the previous 2 years they had been asking from China. So India, China. In what different aspect we can discuss this? Border issues there. Economic point of view.
Internal security.
What else?
Security.
Security. All the border issues of security.
So how China,
In the strategic way.
China create problem for negates us.
That will come in the security in this way.
About commerce.
Yes, in the economy we'll discuss this.
New institutions being developed.
Yes.
AI.
To discuss AIB.
Global positioning.
NDV, or because very important role of China in NDV as well. Now, China has also launched its own global system. Baidu it is, right?
Yes.
Rivers.
River, yes. River water issue. These are major aspects to be discussed between India and China. So have you brought Atlas with you? Okay, only one person has. Because Atlas is very important once we discuss IR. You locate it. It not only helps to build understanding for IR, but also it helps to do a few questions in geography prelims as well. So carry Atlas with you, both Atlas, uh, or in Black Swan as well as Oxford Atlas, Oxford Student Atlas. Okay. To discuss some other country where we don't need map much. Bangladesh we can discuss. For Nepal, I think Nepal is fine. Nepal is short.
Bhutan is even.
Nothing is there.
There is not much. I will just finish it in 5 minutes only. Bhutan, there is nothing.
Bhutan has happiness index.
Sorry. Nepal is can be prominent question. Why Nepal is in news or has been important?
They're
Government.
near to the China.
So first we see how Nepal is important for India, or what are the issues between India and Nepal. In what we will discuss. Yes.
We have open borders with them, so
Yes.
it's
So in what way?
whatever happens in Nepal
Historical,
will
from history linkages are
Yes.
the cultural ties.
Historical, cultural.
A lot of Hindus sectors.
Yes. Historical, cultural, Hindu society it is, right? Even you see the plain area, the Tarai area, right? So there are marriage links, cultural links among them. What else?
So it acts as a buffer country between India and
Very
China,
good.
two super
Very good.
powers.
As a buffer country between India and China. So even when you discuss Bhutan, the same point again there. What are the issues?
Rivers.
River, energy security,
Economic.
is hydropower surplus country it is. When you talk about internal security, because you see many of the terrorists they come via Nepal we have seen, and Delhi police had caught last year, last. It had been there in news, internal security issue as well along with then counterfeit of currency notes, that also there. Then uh, what else could be there? Yes, uh, there is national mission on Himalayan ecosystem. National mission on national mission national mission to develop strategic knowledge for Himalayan ecosystem. Okay, there are how many missions are there? How many missions under NAPCC?
8.
8 missions. What are those 8 missions?
Old age.
This is national mission.
Very important.
No old age mission we have.
This is very important.
National mission on Himalayan ecosystem. Okay. So see Himalayas, it is not limited to say Nepal or to India. So once we are going to preserve or conserve Himalayan ecosystem, it has to be collective effort, right? So it is a whole ecosystem. In fact, it cannot be done in silos. There are 8 missions under NAPCC. 3 more are to be added. They are in discussion phase. What are these 8 missions? National Water Mission, National Solar Mission. Yes. Remember anything else? Huh? National Mission on Green India. National Mission on Sustainable Habitat. Sustainable Habitat. Then we have
National Mission on Sustainable Agriculture, National Mission on Enhanced Energy Efficiency, seventh, National Mission to conserve or preserve the Himalayan ecosystem, eighth, National Mission to develop strategic knowledge to combat climate change. These are the 8 missions under NAPCC. What is NAPCC? National Action Plan on Climate Change. National Water Mission, National Solar Mission, National Mission on Green India, National Mission on Sustainable Habitat, National Mission on Sustainable Agriculture, National Mission on Enhanced Energy Efficiency, Himalayan Ecosystem, Strategic Knowledge to Combat Climate Change.
Climate change and desertification.
No, that is not. This is the mission exactly. National Mission to develop strategic knowledge to combat climate change. So remember them. There is no other way you need to remember them, right? Not for, I'm not saying for prelims or whatever. Maybe in prelims can also be asked, but more importantly for mains, because at different places you could use these, and you don't know where. In many of the places, if you know them, then only you could use it. Then only find the different places how appropriately you could use as an example or way. So India Bhutan comes again the same mission you could write. Himalayan ecosystem. Yes, Kavi. What are the 8 missions?
National Water Mission. National
सोलर मिशन आप बताइए सारे पहले आप.
National Water Mission, National Solar Mission, National Mission on Agriculture, Sustainable Agriculture,
Yes, good.
and National Mission Sustainable Habitat,
Yes.
and Green India,
Green India.
combat climate change.
बहुत अच्छे.
Himalayan
ecosystem. ठीक है सारे के सारे. Enhanced energy efficiency. So you need to remember all these. Solar mission remains in news. ठीक है. Sustainable agriculture also very important, remains in news. You need to remember these. Enhanced energy efficiency important. Why? Because energy remains very important topic. So if question comes, this is the mission there. Regarding solar mission, we have the revised targets now for solar mission. What are those targets, Kavi?
by 2020 something 1 point.
Not something. Exactly बताइए. हाँ.
2022.
1 lakh. Previously it was 22,000.
अभी current कितना है?
1
Revised.
lakh I think.
Yes.
1 lakh.
1 lakh. What? 1 lakh what? Megawatt.
100 gigawatt.
The same thing. 1 lakh megawatt of solar power by 2022. And what is the revised target for the overall renewable energy?
160.
You are very close. Yes, Vibhu. 165 gigawatt.
It was division
Between 150 and
175.
100 gigawatt for
Solar.
60 for wind, 10 for biomass, and 5 for small hydro. 175 gigawatt. This is the target. 100 gigawatt for solar, 60 gigawatt for 60 gigawatt for wind, 10 gigawatt for biomass, and 5 gigawatt for small hydro. This year the question has been asked. Remember we have done a question. What are the question? What is the current status and targets of the renewable energy? Directly the question was this. What is the current status of this solar? Current status of solar power. How much do we have?
That is very low.
17.
No. 8 gigawatt.
Yes, sir, it's very low.
It's around 8,000 megawatts. Wind, around 26 gigawatt it is. Biomass, somewhere around 5 gigawatt. And small hydro, somewhere around 4 gigawatt. You will find the same information, all these information. We had done the discussion of, we have already done the discussion of paper 2 and 3 mains. So you could find the video on the YouTube. We have uploaded those. Moreover, on our OneNotes we have also updated them. You could find in the syllabus section and GS paper 2 discussion, GS paper 3 discussion. There the keywords are mentioned, not the whole answer, but in the keywords based on which we did the discussion. Yeah, so we're discussing what India Nepal. So these are major issues with India and Nepal. Now, why other things that makes Nepal more important to be asked in UPSC?
Its constitution and
Its
its
constitution.
Involvement of India.
Yes. So last year Nepal came with constitution. Nepal, it had been a Hindu monarchy, and it is a positive step definitely towards democracy. It had been trying the Constituent Assembly, made dissolved many times, and still the ways were not clear. But last year, post earthquake, it brought this constitution, and there was a controversy attached to the constitution because certain section of society, Nepali society, felt them to be alienated from the mainstream, or they felt to be discriminated, specifically Madheshi and Tharu community. So we'll discuss certain provisions which are controversial or which are important for us. Positive in the way because definitely from monarchy, Nepal now has become a republic, democratic country. Moreover, they have attached the word secular. It was a Hindu country. Now, as per constitution, now it is a secular country. But they have attached a rider to it in the way the state can work to preserve the dominant culture, to preserve the Hindu culture in that way. But Nepal is a secular nation as per the constitution. Now, what are the provisions which are controversial to it? One thing is regarding proportional representation. What do you mean by proportional representation? What do you mean by this?
According to the population.
Then every section
Yes.
gets
Certain representation, right? So, in the earlier discussion, when the number of seats that were to be elected under proportional representation was lower, was in fact higher, and what constitution gave that was lower number of seats to be elected from the proportional representation. It means what? The minority's interest now gets subverted, because PR is something that assures different sections to have certain representation in the decision making. Secondly, it is about women issue in a way that when a Nepali woman marries a foreigner man, in that case that child won't get Nepali citizenship unless the man also adopts Nepali citizenship. But it is not the same way other way around. When a Nepali man marries a foreigner woman, the child can get Nepali citizenship. So it appears to be discriminatory against women. Third issue is regarding delimitation of constituencies. The delimitation of constituencies and the carvation of provinces, they were done in a way
I'll just show you on the projector how they had been done. Give me a moment. So done in a way that in every of the province, in most of the province, Madheshi and Tharu community were reduced to minority. Just how we discussed about Manipur issue yesterday. So it is something they were created in a way by putting. This is how Nepal is, right? So they will treat like in this way. Now, Madheshi community is majority like in this way on the Tarai region. The Tharu community on the eastern, on the western side. So if you cut across the different provinces like this, in each province or in constitution there could be minority, right? So this had been one of the reasons for the issue.
So with respect to women, sir, does it matter that where the husband and wife are residing?
Means?
Like for that matter, if a Nepali woman marries a foreigner and they're domiciled in Nepal,
Who domiciled women?
both of them. Both of them live in Nepal. Still, the citizenship wouldn't be.
Yes, if the man to whom the Nepali woman marries, if the man is a foreigner, the child won't get the Nepali citizenship.
Irrespective of the fact whether they live in Nepal.
Correct. It is a citizenship that counts, that matters. Is the project on?
Yes, sir. So lighter.
Okay, just discuss some other points, and in the end, I will show you each and everything. Then I will use like a board then in that case. We discuss first all the points. So these have been the major issues, and as the Madheshi Thare community, they felt to be deprived of the power or involvement in the decision making. Actually, the Nepal had been ruled by Hindu monarchy, right? And the hill area people, they had been ruling the nation, right? So the same scenario here in the Manipur, it was the valley area people who were ruling Methi, right? But here is the hill area people who are the Hindu majority. They had been ruling the nation. So when a country had been a monarchy for so many years, it's very difficult for the rulers to shed the power and to share the power with all the people. So despite the people, they agreed to bring democracy in Nepal, so they carried certain provisions which try to concentrate the powers of the rulers there. These provisions, so it because
every ruler or every power try to concentrate more and more power. So it's a common phenomenon, could be seen anywhere in the world. So this had been the main reason. So Madheshi and Tharo community came out on the roads. They put on the blockade on the Nepal borders, India-Nepal borders. Okay. Okay. What's the location of Madheshi community in the Tarai region? Southern, this part region. Where is Tharo community on the western part? Okay, what happened then? This blockade, as it was felt, it was India supported the blockade as the public opinion created in the Nepal, and anti-Indian sentiment started generating in Nepal that India is interfering too much into the internal politics of Nepal. After that, as the blockade continued, even the Nepali government didn't anticipate this blockade to continue for so long. They thought like it would be a matter of a month or two, but it continued for more than 7-8 months. The people started suffering, the energy prices rose up, the essential commodities prices rose up, shortage of all those, right? So more and more pressure got created over the Nepali government, but neither party they just bow down. So finally, so demand of the Madheshi community had been this delimitation constitution. In a way, they remain in majority in a couple of provinces, right? Then what happened? Nepal started playing China card. Nepal and China had certain agreements. China said, okay, fine. And Nepal tried to show that because it is India that is providing trade route to China. It is a landlocked country. We provide our Kolkata core. Now we also agreed over to provide Vishakhapatnam port as well. So Nepal now tried to find another port connectivity and had an agreement with China. So as per the agreement, they were to bring the brought the connectivity from China to Nepal. And so even despite the agreement, the things were not going to settle down. Why? Because it's not possible to cut across Himalayas in a couple of years and has such a robust connectivity route. Okay, this was the biggest challenge. Now the issue was, will China seriously pursue this agreement, this connectivity? One way is yes. Why? Because China also want to, you can say, pursue its one belt, one road initiative. As per its purpose, it wants to connect the whole, this Asian region, even along with Eurasia, and the whole economy to be driven by China. So that is possible if China pursues connectivity with a neighboring nation, when and where possible. Then it could also create more pressure on India, because when it has the connectivity by China, then India's interest may be negated. And there are many issues between India and China, right? Like border issue is there, or South China Sea also we don't have even they blocked Azhar Masood entry in as a terrorist there. CPEC corridor, where China stand with Pakistan on many of the fronts. There are many issues between India and China, and when China could bring Nepal along its side, it could be a big strategic advantage for China in that case. So China would like to pursue it in this as if it looked like, yes. Challenges, one of the biggest challenges remains to cut across the tough terrain there, the Himalayas. Secondly, it is also to be seen that because till what level China will open Nepalese in Tibet-Nepal border, as considering Tibet being a very burning hot strategic topic for China, because they won't like to have cross-border connectivity connecting Tibet, right? So that is also to be seen how China handles this situation. Then slowly the blockade, as Nepal promised to act upon certain of their demands, it it agreed over to a few demands, but still the Madhesi community's whole demands were not satisfied. So finally, blockade ended over, right? The new Prime Minister Prachanda, right? Yeah, came to India, and we also had the agreements MOUs along with Nepal. So now the situation has improved than the previous one. Than it was a 8, 10, 12 months ago. So slowly things have improved. India also promised in the recent MOU to provide Vishakhapatnam port to Nepal, as till now it had been only Haldia, the Kolkata port. Now the thing is, till what level, whether India was actually playing a role in the blockade or not, or till what level this kind of interference is justified. So that's a very tricky. You need to very diplomatically handle these kind of things. On one way, India cannot let away this turmoil to last for long. Why? Because it's the internal security matter as well. Because the community, they have the interlinkages with our UP and Bihar community right there. So if a minority gets suppressed, it has the potential to remain the region in turmoil for forever. In fact, see how in Sri Lanka it had been there. A minority Tamil minority community is being suppressed. Gross human right violation there over them. Until now, you see the how issues are boiling. Things are there. So it is the interest of, in fact, both for India as well, that the minority community get their rights or their fair share of interest in the decision making. Then till what level India can play the role? Yes, India can play the role definitely constructively, right? As India's interests lie there, so we cannot let our interest to be negated, because it has to be diplomatically to be done. There's a role of diplomacy even, right? Our diplomats, they deal with the Nepali diplomats, and there's a way of diplomacy to strengthen India's national interest. But as part of Panchsheel, if you see, there should not be interference as well in other countries' internal affairs, right? And that won't be seen in a good way, because it presents a negative picture in the minds of the people. Because, say, for example, if China starts interfering in our internal affairs, you could see how public opinion would be shaped against China, right? The same way, public opinion started get shaping against India in Nepal. So that needs to be looked into, that India should not interfere in a way that, in fact, harms the interest of India rather than just building it or strengthening it. So India should, in fact, constructively cooperate with Nepal, or constructively uh, bring the collaboration with Nepal, so that it not only makes the issue stable, the region stable, but also in the best interest of both of the nations, India and Nepal both. Then India, in fact, can play a very important role. How? See, our constitution, for example, give our constitution example. Indian constitution is very highly inclusive constitution, right? It has been so many years after independence. The debate, if you see our constitution in India, remains how best to uphold the constitution. The debate is not over this, that our constitution is exclusive of certain communities or of minorities. The debate is over. We agree that our constitution is inclusive. Our constitution is a very beautiful document, right? So debate remains over, that how to protect, how to uphold our constitution. So to showcase the beauty of our constitution. So the same way as Nepal is in the constitution making process, initial phase of that. So India can help Nepal to frame an inclusive constitution, and even Nepal can learn the lesson from India in that case, Because, for example, if you've seen how best, despite so much diversity, Nepal is not a so much diverse country, right? India, huge diversity. Despite post-independence, it is the strength of our constitution that our country didn't divide. Our country, in fact, strengthened itself, despite having the different nations among itself. Then we can take example of Sri Lanka, how the constitution, the ruling had been in a way that certain minority communities being suppressed. It kept Sri Lanka always in turmoil. It never allowed Sri Lanka to develop as a collective nation. So it's for Nepal to understand that if all the communities are involved, it is going to strengthen Nepal, not to weaken it. For example, you could give example of within states post independence, creation of states on the linguistic basis, right? We had the fear it would divide the nation initially, isn't it? That's why the government was reluctant initially. It was recalcitrant in that way. But later on, creation of states, in fact, strengthened the nation. Creation of states on language basis, they contributed in the national development. So these things, if being implemented or being looked into in terms of Nepal constitution, can help a lot in stabilizing the whole region, and that is in the best interest of the people and of both nations. And this is how Indian diplomacy should work over with Nepal without interfering much. So these had been the major issues or discussion between India and Nepal. So that's all for today.
Okay, so that's all for today's class. If you like this video, you hit like and subscribe to our channel as well.